Welcome back to What Media Group Chronicles, the podcast where we dive into the stories behind successful agencies, the wins, the lessons, and everything in between. Today, I am joined by Tiff, founder of Nover Marketing. Tiff's built a reputation for helping AEC companies simplify their messaging and focus on what actually drives revenue. Tiff, it is great to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to jump in today.
Awesome. Let's begin with your journey into marketing. Like, how did it all begin for you?
I've always been a little bit of a marketing girly. I think ever since high school, I was on the journalism team, was always doing something creative. So it was just kind of a natural progression after college to fall into the world of marketing. And throughout my career, have just kind of jumped around. I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD, like many entrepreneurs. So I've tried a little bit of everything and just kind of become a jack of all trades as in marketing as an effect of that, and then decided to start my own company.
What is an entrepreneur, you said, with ADHD? Is it like you like to make sure everything's perfectly done, or like just want to know a little bit more about that?
Yeah, ADHD definitely affects everyone in different ways. People with ADHD are often more open to taking risks. So that's why a lot of people with ADHD become entrepreneurs. But I think from my perspective, it's that it's a continual need to learn everything. You kind of get bored after you do something for a little bit of time. So it's like you jump in, you're super interested in learning everything about it. You learn everything about it, and then you say, okay, let's move on to the next piece. And I think that works really well for marketing because when you're running an agency like me that's covering both traditional and digital marketing, there's a never-ending bucket of things to learn about.
As an entrepreneur and a business owner, specifically in marketing, you constantly need to be learning new things and staying on top of the trends. Like, for example, now AI, right? So I think it's a good
100%.
skill to have.
Yeah, 100%. It's about being open to, especially with AI, the number one question on every client's mind is, well, what are you doing about AI? How are you using AI tools to do your job faster, better? How am I getting more for my money with AI? So it's about the ability to just jump in and be curious and say, yeah, we'll give that a try and we'll see if it works.
And specifically, because you mentioned traditional and digital marketing being the two things that you do, what does that entail exactly?
Yeah. So traditional marketing can be anything from creating a billboard and purchasing the billboard space to creating a radio commercial to doing more like print advertising placements. So trying to get people featured in magazines, which of course there's a digital component to that now, but a lot of those traditional aspects. And then of course the more everything digital. So paid advertising, SEO, anything that touches the web.
And in regards to being the founder of Nover Marketing, what would you say your day to day looks like specifically?
Man, I wish I had a better answer for you. My day to day, I think maybe a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to this. My day to day looks like having a couple of top initiatives that I think are going to drive the company forward and really trying to get to those, but understanding that you got to go where the day takes you sometimes. If your team needs you for a certain thing, if there's an issue you need to solve, you're going to jump in and do that. So I think a day-to-day as an entrepreneur is your best guess. And I think anyone who says they have their day perfectly scheduled, they are either super type A or they have found the answer to an equation that I don't know yet.
I'll let you know if I have a podcast that has
Perfect.
got it perfectly organized. So you specifically work with the AEC industry. If there's actually, I didn't actually know what it stands for. You told me on the previous call. Why this industry?
Yeah. So AEC is architecture, engineering, and construction. And it's a very interesting combination because it's all of the people that work together to bring buildings to life. That's residential buildings, that's commercial buildings, that's infrastructure, that's driving across a bridge, right? These are the people that build the things that get you from A to B that you go into when you get from A to B. And it's a really, really interesting group of people. And what could be more exciting than working on a project and saying, oh yeah, you see when you walk down New York and you see that beautiful big building you're looking at and saying, wow, that architecture is amazing. My engineer, did all the civil for that. The architect we work with designed that. And then the construction group we work with built it. So it's just a really exciting field to be in.
I mean, I recently, a bit of a personal story, but I went to Budapest. I think that's where we had our first call. I was calling from Budapest. And the architecture there is just so beautiful.
It's so insane how different it is from location to location too. Like you go to France and you get these really beautiful beautiful old historic buildings. And then you go to the US and a lot of buildings are new and they're embodying like modern conceptual architecture. It's interesting. That's what makes traveling so special. That's awesome you got to
Yeah,
experience
yeah.
that.
Of course, yeah. Do you prefer that sort of old style nostalgic buildings, or is it more sort of modernized? I mean, I think I like both, just a preference.
Yeah, I would say I like all types of architecture and design. I like seeing the differences. I'm more of an old school girl though. Like I love a medieval castle. I have not been to
Yeah.
Ireland yet, but it is on my list because of that.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of castles that I haven't been personally, and I'm much closer, so no
You
excuses
need to
really.
go.
Yeah, I'll have to go and I'll send you over some pictures.
Perfect.
What would you say right now is working really well in the agency space for you specifically?
I think right now what's working well for me is investing in our team and understanding that any service based business, the team is the gold. We're working really hard to create a space that is flexible. Our team has a 4-day work week. It's a 36-hour work week. They can work those hours any days, any times they want. You know, if they want to do 4 9s, they can. If they want to work 7 days a week at a couple of hours a day, that's fine. Have 4 weeks PTO. We pay full benefits for a company that's, a boutique agency with 10 people. That's not cheap. And we
Yeah,
have
I
a
can
lot of other
imagine.
perks. So doing that has really brought in a lot of talent. Like whenever I put up a LinkedIn posting, we get flooded with applicants. And the people that are good, that are putting in the time, they're staying. And I think that is the most valuable thing about building an agency is understanding that the people are what makes the agency. And what's working well is that we're getting to a point where the team is starting to make decisions without me. And that's the dream as an agency owner, right? Like I like coming into work and somebody being like, "Hi Tiffany, so and so Matt, we decided that this isn't working and here's how we fixed it." And I'm like, "Fabulous. Thank you." Like didn't even have to provide my input because they know that they're trusted and that their decisions are valued. So, that is definitely what's
Wow.
carrying us forward right now.
That's incredible. You're like so passionate about your team, and as a business owner, you're right. You can't handle everything on your own. You gotta have a strong team, and then your agency's just gonna grow. It's based on your team pretty much. And I love how much you invest in them. What made you to come over to these flexible working hours, and while still obviously covering full benefits?
Yeah. I bounced around in my career. Like I said, ADHD, I was at places 9 months, 3 months, a year, and somehow I still got people to hire me, even though my hiring, my employment record was like, everyone would always ask, "Oh, what's going to make you stay here?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, build a good environment and I will. I'll be a top performer for you, but I need you to create a space that's enjoyable to be in." And after bouncing around for a while, I did work at an agency that I really loved. There, they had similar, like it was a 40-hour work week, but it was flexible. They paid you overtime if you worked overtime. It was a really good culture. And I would have stayed there probably another 10 years, but they got purchased by an acquisition firm. And I was like, okay, kind of time to head out now.
Yeah.
But that was when I looked back, I bounced around a little bit after that and I was like, I want to build a space like that, but I want to make it my own. So that was really a bit of the inspiration. And I just kind of dug in and said, let's do it. I think the beginning, when you're giving that much, is really hard. The first year and a half I was working really long hours to make it happen. But I finally feel like we've gotten over that little hump and everything I did that first year and a half is now paying off.
Yeah. Wow, that is so beautiful. And are you doing any hiring right now?
We are. We don't have any open positions at the moment. We're actually just starting to think about recruiting for an SEO or a strategic account manager position. We're definitely in the space where like the decision happens in 3 weeks, right? It's like tomorrow, it's like we need to start recruiting and we need to have an offer out in 2 weeks. So we actually leave our job postings just up on our website. Anyone can apply
Wow.
anytime. And when we decide to go hire for that position, we'll pull resumes from like the past 3 or 4 months. So please apply to Nover Marketing if you're looking for a
Yeah, of
marketing
course.
position.
Yeah, and if you're obviously specialist in SEO, why not? It sounds like a brilliant job, and obviously Tiff seems like a great boss to have.
Thank you.
We talked about what's going really well in the agency. Would you say there's anything that's challenging or frustrating in the agency space?
Percent. So many things, right? I would say the two hardest things would be just number one, there's been a lot of economic uncertainty. Tariffs, especially, have hit our industry. The consumers have been hesitant about building or remodeling, and that's affected our clients. So I think any entrepreneur will relate to just going through economic uncertainty and kind of rolling with the punches and doing what you can to get through it. And then I think the second thing has definitely been AI. Every marketer in the world right now is under increasing pressure. Every SaaS tool provider that's related to marketing, every marketer is, how are you going to adapt to a landscape that is shifting, at a rate that it has never shifted before? So trying to stay up to speed with that and trying to make sure that we're progressing in a way that serves our clients without taking too big of risks for them has definitely been one of the things that's on my mind most.
Yeah, I mean, one of the topics that keep coming up with agency owners to research is AI and sort of search functions because more people have moved from Google over to like AI. How is that going to sort of impact marketing?
Gosh, there was just a news article like a week ago. So 6 months ago, ChatGPT was basically like, Sam. They asked him, "Oh, well, will you be doing paid ads soon?" And he was like, "I see no need to do paid ads at the moment." Which everyone knows. My husband and I were talking about this like 2 nights ago. Everyone knows at the moment when you're like a tech company means I'm not going to talk about it right now. So just like a week ago, they did announce that ChatGPT will be rolling out paid ads, and that it should be coming in like
Really?
tomorrow. So I'm actually going to send out an offer to all of our clients, and we're going to offer that for two of our clients, we'll set up their paid ads on ChatGPT for free. Obviously, they'll have to pay for the ad spend, but we'll do the setup for free because this is a learning for us as well. So we'll be setting up ads for ourselves. We'll do it for two of our clients for free. And we're going to learn as quick as we can and see if it's worth it in our industry to try and roll out to the rest of our clients.
Yeah, of course.
Initial data is suggesting that it's going to be super great. And I would imagine as a beta program, they need the ROI for clients to be super good. That's my guess. So my guess is in the beginning, it's going to be extremely competitive in terms of like cost per lead compared to Google. And I've also read that trust is so much higher on ChatGPT because it is a large language model and they are synthesizing it for you that it's maybe potentially a higher quality lead, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I think you're right. Obviously, yeah, I'm sort of startled by the news because I was like, yeah, I'm staying on top of things, and then you said that the news came out a week ago. But yeah, I was always like sort of pondering with agency owners, like, what if this is going to come out? Because obviously, ChatGPT, OpenAI overall doesn't have the funds and the budget like Google does behind them. So it's like we were talking about eventually paid ads coming out, but now this is reality. How are we going to adjust to it? And I love your approach. I think it's very reasonable that you're sort of asking for clients, like you're not going to ask them to pay for it, but obviously the ad spend, but it's such a huge potential for them as well, because you're right. I think they will try to make a huge ROI to get more people to come to the platform and pay for the ads.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's like any like SaaS or social tool monetizing themselves. Like they're all going to start out by just trying to get interest. That's the number one way to do it. And then they have to figure out how to monetize. It's why right now they're bleeding money, right? Like they are not profitable. They have a
Yeah.
crazy investor thing going on to make it work. But if you're that person, like that's one of the first people there, you're going to get that huge bump. It's like any social creator who is like one of the first people to jump over to that new social platform and go all in, and that social platform succeeds. Those are a lot of the big creators. You just got to be the first one in the door.
No, that makes sense. You know what? I feel like I'll need to really work with my team to get this episode out as soon as possible because we're like breaking news, you know?
Yeah, I did read the article, but yeah, get the
Yeah, I
actual
will do.
timelines in there.
Yeah, no, I will do. On another topic, we previously chatted and we spoke about the power of niching down, and this being a very sort of passionate topic for you. So would you mind to give me your opinion about niching down? Because there seems to be a controversy. Is it important to niche down, or you can still be a generalist in this day and age?
Yeah, 100%. I'll talk about this from an agency perspective, but this applies to every business. And I talk to my clients about this too. So, in terms of a marketing agency, there's two main models, right? Like somebody is either a local agency and they don't specialize in particularly a certain service or a certain industry, but they serve their local population. That's powerful because they can go get video footage, they can go see the product, they can go talk to the people. Then there's the niche agency, and that agency either specializes in only one particular service, like, hey, we only do reels for you. We only do reels on Instagram. That's all we do. Or they specialize in an industry. So for us, that's AEC. The power of that, there's strengths to both. And I tell prospects all the time, a local agency might be the right choice for you. But what you get with a specialist agency is I already know the channels that work. I already know the benchmarks we're looking for to measure success. And I've already made those mistakes on behalf of other clients. So I've already learned those lessons. I know how to spend your money. And each day we operate, I make another mistake and I learn that lesson, and all of our clients benefit from that lesson. Now, that's what the client gets out of that, and I think that's how to sell it. But what you get out of an agency, if you niche down, instant credibility. The story of like how we really took off, Nover was my side hustle. I had a website up for 7 years. I was just taking, if I left a job and that somebody was like, hey, help me still. I'm like, yeah, no worries. I got you. I'll bill you on the side. I'll do it super cheap. I was at a picnic and I was kind of complaining about my job in tech. And somebody was like, don't you have enough skills to go out on your own? And I was kind of annoyed that they even said that because I was like, of course I do. Like, why are you saying this to me? But I was like, okay, why am I not actually trying to do this? So in my little heated, departure from that picnic, I went home and I rebuilt my website. I niched down. One of my clients was like a civil engineer. So I was like, let's just try AEC. There's kind of low keyword difficulty for it. And I changed my website and I said, we specialize in AEC. And I only had one example on my website, just the one client. So it wasn't like I had this huge portfolio of like, look at all this work we've done for AEC. It was like, we specialize in AEC and here's one example. And I put ads up and I'm not even kidding. Within 6 weeks, I had enough business to leave my job. And none of those conversations, nobody was like, oh, can you talk to me? Like, send me a portfolio of all the people you've worked with. They're just like, oh, yeah, you specialize in AEC. I'm like, yep, that's what we're focusing on. So I didn't lie, but I just provided a little bit less information. And that led to enough trust for them to be like, yeah, I want to pick you over that local agency.
Yeah, no, this is actually like so powerful, and I highly support niching down. Also, in the aspect of, as you just mentioned, you've been running ads on like behalf of other clients that have gone well, that have not gone so well, right? So you already know the testing phases, also how to speak to your audience in and out, because you know mostly what they struggle with. And I'll be honest with you, even speaking to marketing agents and creative leaders, I notice similarities, right? So it's the
Yeah,
same thing with you.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. You don't have to go into that conversation with as much prep, you know? You don't have to go into that conversation and accidentally say things where they're like, well, that's not what I was saying at all. That's not my pain point, you know?
Yeah.
It's confidence on your side too.
No, absolutely. And in regards to how you currently get clients, what sort of channel has worked best for you? Is it inbound, outbound?
Definitely paid advertising on Google. We're one of those, we're typical agency story. I think ask any agency owner. We have not had the time to market ourselves. We're so busy doing client work that I haven't put the money there yet. I would like to one day. I think maybe in the next 4 roles we hire, maybe that'll be a marketing person that's only doing our marketing. But right now it's been me when I get extra time. So right now the majority of our business does come from Google pay-per-click advertising. I just got a ChatGPT lead today. So like we get a little bit of organic type leads, and then we get a tiny bit of, I would say, referral business. Referral business is definitely lower when you're a niche agency because
Oh, yeah?
they're all their competitors. You know what I mean? Like most of the people they
Ah,
know around them are like, yeah, that's my competition. I'm not going to send you their
yeah.
name.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Wow. That's interesting, though. So when you niche down, obviously it's great, but then at the same time, specifically in your industry, you found that it's less referrals.
So as compared to like a local agency, when I was doing marketing just as like a side hustle for Nover, when I was working in tech, all of my business was referral. And that was somebody knows somebody who needs help with something like this. But the larger companies, like once you start niching down, people that they locally speak to, one of my architects might speak to another architect at a networking group. But if they're serving the same service area, they probably don't want me doing their marketing. So we do get some referrals, but it's mostly from people who are like, they're in like a group think for their industry. And that group think is nationwide. So they're like, on a presentation with somebody and they're like messaging them being like, oh yeah, I have somebody for you.
Yeah, actually, what you mentioned before is about agency owners being suckers for sort of delivering the pipeline for themselves, but really good at client work, right? Because that's where the focus is. So, sort of touching point on that, if things stay the same for the next 6 months, but you say you're sort of not focusing on that, you're focusing on client work, what would
Yeah.
you think it starts to impact?
That's a good question. If we don't start focusing some resources to organic and really kind of showing up in I would imagine my cost per lead is going to rise pretty substantially. I don't know if this is the case, but what I imagine is that if people start spending money on ads in ChatGPT, that's less of the pie for Google. Google's got to compensate for that somehow. So I don't know if my cost per lead is going to go up or if it's going to get more competitive on Google PPC, but I definitely personally need to open some more lead sources for us.
Yeah, that's usually important, isn't it? And I mean, networking is great. I hear that sort of being the other source agent owners utilize, but it takes a lot of time, going to all these shows.
But yeah, I've looked into some AEC events. We're just not at the point where that's where I want to invest my money. It's definitely more like, top of funnel, middle funnel strategy. And there's still so many bottom of funnel channels that we have not tapped out yet that I'm like, I'm going to put my money in those buckets before I start
Yeah.
spending money on events. Like we don't even run meta ads right now. So
Yeah. Oh,
one
yeah.
step at a
Yeah. Yeah.
time.
Of course. Yeah. Another thing sort of being discussed is the controversy of cold email. Have you previously tried that for your own sort of pipeline? Do you think it works? Do you think you need the right strategy with it? Sort of trying to get more opinions on this matter.
I think cold email, you have to have the right message at the right time for the right person. Now, we've tested a little bit of cold email, just, our director of sales has sent a little bit of email. But to be honest, after she did it for a while, we were both like, our inbound leads are so good right now. Like, let's just focus our effort on closing those. If I were to ever test cold email, I will say this cold email does work. There is a market for it. I come from tech where we had a huge team of BDRs and SDRs, and their whole job was very heavily prospecting in cold email. But the response rate you have to account for being super low. And that's the game, right? The game is that you send out a ton of emails, you try and personalize them, you try and provide value, you hope you hit the right person at the right time with the right message. And sometimes it works. And you know what? You reached out to me with a cold email and it was the right message at the right time, and I responded back right away.
Wow.
Use case for it. It's just gotta be right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you're right about that. And it's also sort of trying to deliver that value, right? Which we found obviously works as well. Value and build that connection, which we're doing right now. So that's going great. But yeah, that you like you said, just because like maybe you had a bad experience with it doesn't mean that like other people are making money from it. So clearly there is a strategy that works.
Yeah. Like you said, value is the number one most important thing, right? You didn't reach out to me and say, hey, look at this offer, buy this. You said, hi, we interview agency owners. What's in it for you is you get to be on a podcast. You'll have those clips for social media. That's instant value for me. And it's very top of funnel brand building, right? I might not need what you have right now, but I have a positive association with your brand now. If I ever do need something like it and I see your name, I think that's a really good company. They spent the time to give me something very valuable.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. So talking about AI, I mean, we briefly touched upon it in the beginning. I mean, clearly it's making waves. So personally for you, what do you find that AI is helpful with beyond the language models?
Say we haven't dipped our toe far enough in there to say. We largely
Okay.
use it for chat functionality right now. And in terms of chat functionality, like top things I use it for, number one, briefing, writing content for us. Number two, analyzing. So like, here's an example of something I just did that I'm super geeked about. I do annual reports, annual like look backs and strategies for our larger clients. And typically I go through, I like look at all the initiatives we completed. I talk about the data. I talk about where we're going next. That might take me 4 to 5 hours per client. I just put in, we do monthly reports. I literally just copied and pasted all of that with my data. And I was like, summarize what we did, talk to me about how we grew and like data points, and then make a plan for the next year. And it was spot on with what I wanted to do.
Oh,
So just large language model functionality, but like the strategy component of that, not just the typing, like the actual looking at my data is important. And then like same thing with our financial plan. Like I obviously have a spreadsheet with our finances in it. I plugged it all in. I was like, tell me the top issues my agency has. And it pointed out glaring red issues that I'm like, oh yeah, that's my pain that I'm feeling. That's what I need to fix with my company. Definitely the strategy components, but I definitely this year, one of our goals is to figure out how to use AI beyond that, right? What is the next step? How do we save time for our clients? How do we make our business better?
Yeah, of course. Are you gonna, like you said, dip your toes into the sort of automation things you can do?
I am interested in it. What would be your top suggestions, speaking to so many agency owners and kind of focusing on the AI aspect? What would be your top suggestions for things we need to look into?
That's a very good question. I will have to say depends on the business because every business has got their own sort of processes in place. So I would say it's very personalized depending on your actual business model, your onboarding process, what tools you use. But many agency owners like to personalize the onboarding process because that takes time. Or like you just said, I mean, something takes 4 to 5 hours for you to like sort of summarize for clients' work and then progress on to the next years. I mean, if it's still manual, you can have an automation or a workflow there where it automatically takes all the data and does it itself. So you just have the whole summary in front of you and you approve it to be sent off to wherever you want it to go. But yeah, it's pretty sort of personalized depending on your current business model.
Yeah, absolutely. I think onboarding is definitely a good one. We chatted about this when we spoke last time, but I actually hired for a brief period of time. I hired an external marketing agency to do some social reels for me.
Yeah.
I was like, I want a company that specializes in Reels. I want to see how they do it. I follow this girl on social and I love her content. And one thing that really struck me when I was onboarding with them was how automated their onboarding process was. I mean, I signed that contract, and when I signed the contract on the call with their salesperson, which awesome close, by the way.
Wow.
But when I when I hit sign, immediately, like the next second, I got my onboarding assets in my email. And I was just like,
Wow.
man, we're spending a couple hours doing that for all of our clients. We need to figure that out. So my next thing was like immediately going to our director of operations and being like, hey, can you figure out how they did this? Because I want that.
Yeah, and I think previously I took this away from our call and from other discussions as well. Instead of like you sort of wasting hours and being stuck with that guard view like with your agency, you went out and explored and you partnered up with a company that's already sort of doing something good and you could take away some value, which is and implement in your agents, which is just so valuable. So I think you had a really good sort of smart approach there.
I think the number one way to grow your business is to not be the smartest person in the room. And sometimes that's admitting that, you don't have the money to hire a specific role that has that background. You don't have the personal expertise, and maybe bringing in somebody to advise on that is not the route that you think is going to be the most efficient. Hiring a different marketing agency to do some marketing for my marketing agency
Yeah.
was a weird choice, but it was so valuable. I mean,
Yeah.
from the way like it was eye-opening because as agency owners, I think if you care about your business, you have this problem where you get a bad email and it kind of ruins your day. You're like, man, I'm working so hard to build my business. I'm really trying to serve you. So like that one experience could be like, man, am I doing everything wrong? Having another agency serve me was super interesting because there was things they did and they dropped the ball on. And I was like, this isn't a big deal. I can respond back in a calm manner. And it
Uh-huh.
kind of helped me start to differentiate even more our ideal customer profile, like the kind of customer I want to serve and how they choose to handle conflict and interact with my team and how my team does that back. I think that was a super valuable lesson.
You know what? You just touched point on something really interesting there. I had a discussion with somebody from Red Bear Films, and he's been in the industry for a really long time. And what he has, because of all these red flag clients he's worked with, where they're sort of like, it's your fault, it's your agency. He's now got something called like, what was it, like the charismatic meeting or something like that, where it's basically making sure the client is a fit to the agency. Like the client needs to sell themselves to work with us because, and he's got like these series of questions where he checks how they go through conflict pretty much, because then he's avoiding sort of working with the bad clients, right? And I think this was a very smart approach, because unfortunately there will be clients out there, like you just said, that just blame everything on the agency, when sometimes, you got to point the finger at yourself and be like, yeah, I messed up.
I love to hear that. I would love to watch that episode and take some advice from him. I don't think we've gotten to the point where on prospect calls we're super good at filtering that out, but definitely post. Like if we terminate a client's contract early or if we don't renew a client, we always send a message to the team. We explain if that client was a good fit or not a good fit and why. And if we feel like it was partially due to our design that we lost the client, just so we can learn from our experiences, right? It's not about blaming anybody. It's about saying, all right, they were a good fit, they weren't. Here's what we could have done. Or maybe we were okay with what happened and we're actually happy to end
Yeah.
this relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would
Sometimes,
love to see that
unfortunately,
episode.
that's the case. Yeah, it's going live next week, actually, because we recently got the
Awesome.
approval to go ahead. So I'll direct it your way for sure.
Perfect.
So, talking about the future, I mean, now we're in 2026. Do you have any goals for the agency?
So many goals. I just assigned, we're actually doing our goal meetings next week. I assigned everyone goals. Lots of them are definitely process related. As an agency coming into our third year now, we've grown and we've built processes. And now it's time to kind of go back and say, here's where these processes need to be improved, right? Like this was V1 of the spaceship we're building, and we need more rocket fuel to get where we're trying to go. And a lot of it is about really communicating value to clients. One thing I'll say with AI is I feel that the way a marketer's role is changing is a little bit less about implementation and more about facilitating knowledge. And what I mean by that is, let's just do one role, like search engine optimization. Yes, there's technical components to search engine optimization, but a lot of it is about creating quality content. And back in the day, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, an SEO could just write a blog and make that blog better than the competitors. And you didn't really need to ask the client their opinion or to provide insight because you could just write the blog. Now with large language models, LLMs can write the blog. So what are you doing that's different? The way to win now is to make sure that you have specific relevant examples that really takes the client's expertise to a next level. And you can't do that without asking the client questions. So the job of the marketer shifts from just implementing a blog to facilitating that client's knowledge into the blog and using tools to make it happen. And when you talk about AI automated workflows, like that's the same thing, right? Like we don't need somebody who's an expert at an integration. We just need somebody who understands the problem and can use AI tools to make it happen. So I think that's probably like the number one thing that everything is based off of, is trying to move us to an agency that just implements to one that facilitates knowledge, if that makes sense.
Wow, no, that's so powerful. I mean, sort of in a way, it's educational, but it's not, because you facilitate their knowledge, which is one way to differentiate it is when they have their own personal story into the blog per
Yeah.
se.
Yeah. And same thing with like AI workflows. Like, I can set up a client's CRM, right? Like their system that leads come into and the emails that happen. But if I don't really have a deep understanding of their pain points and what they need to move their business forward, like it's just going to be a tool that does 25% of what they need.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I asked this to all of my guests. If you had a magic wand to fix one bottleneck to help you get to your goal much quicker, I mean, what would that one bottleneck be that you'd be like, maybe there's an AI tool that comes out tomorrow and fixes it for you?
I think maybe it's something that allows that facilitation of knowledge to happen in a way that's quicker, that's more cohesive. I mean, right now, we have monthly meetings with our clients, so we'll come prepared to the meeting with things we need from them. And then after that, it's some email. They might be getting approvals through some of our systems. But if there was a way to kind of automate, hey, here's everything we need from you, and to make it easy for the client where they're not jumping around between multiple docs and emails to provide that information, maybe that would be the most powerful thing for us right now. I'd have to think on that more.
Yeah, no, that's fine. To be fair, that's sort of being one challenge I keep hearing from agency owners is that communication with the client, especially when they're busy, when they're not a small business owner. I'm sure you work with some big fishes in the industry as well.
Yeah.
Is having that time that they can actually dedicate to you to answer those questions that sometimes is a struggle.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Tiff, if people wanted to connect with you, learn more about your services, where could they find you?
Please go to our website, novermarketing.com. Find me on LinkedIn. Don't send me a LinkedIn message. My LinkedIn is a graveyard.
No, that's absolutely fine, Tiff. Thank you so much for being so valuable in what you've delivered today and just really open about your processes.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure speaking with you.